All right, welcome everybody. It's going to be a recap here for August 2nd, 2023. Okay, so had a really good day. Had a really good day trading the indices. Jumped back in the gold today because I like the action over the last 2 days. So it started heating up, so I'm back in the gold. So I'm going to go over that trade here. Also had a nice day in the stocks. Some of the ones I am carrying overnight. We'll get into that in just a little bit as well. Also, I'm going to have a follow-up video where I talk a little bit more about the pattern itself. What is this HF1 pattern? Okay. And I'm going to show you how I arrived at that HF1 pattern. And also, I'm going to show you how, with the combination of the patterns in Einstein, how it gives me exact entries and it gives me exact profit targets. All right. There's no guesswork. It tells me exactly where my highest probability trades are going to be, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the follow-up video. Ignore this line right here. That is going to be something that we're going to be talking about in the follow-up video. Okay. So anyway, gold, nice little trade on the gold. Gold came in around 12 after 10 Eastern time. It was an HF1 short. I wasn't in this trade maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes. Did hit my profit target down here, and I was out. And that was my one and only trade in the gold, okay? I'm trying to keep my trades in the morning down to 1 or 2 when I'm trading gold in the indices. Or if I'm trading natural gas or crude oil or silver, like to keep them down to 1 or 2 trades. Get that high volatility in the morning. That's when I'm going to have my bigger movements. And I want to get in, I want to get out. Very similar to what I do in stocks. The only difference with stocks is I will also trade the power hour, which is the last trading hour of the day. And sometimes I have opportunities, sometimes I don't. And that's why I also provide in our Discord channel a afternoon watch list. So I have one that comes out for the morning, and I also have one that we're looking at in the afternoon. Stocks are a little bit different than trading the indices in gold. Typically the indices are always tradable. Gold depends if it's hot right now. Right now it's kind of coming and going. So as long as the volatility's picked up a little bit, I'm willing to trade it. But that's the only difference where when I'm looking at stocks, I'm scanning a ton of stocks, and I'm trying to narrow it down to just a handful of the stocks that have the highest probability of not only movement, but also are displaying my patterns. Have to make sure that I have patterns also set up in those stocks. All right. So, if you've been watching any of my prior nightly updates, you'll know that I talk a lot about looking for those stocks that have that high interest, a lot of volume. Like to keep the float down so you can get some really nice movement. And then I have to make sure that I have several patterns that are setting up in one way or the other. If I have several patterns that are setting up for a buy, then I'm going to have a big interest in that. Then if it's a stock on my watch list, that may not have those patterns setting up. So sometimes I just sit and wait to see if one sets up. Sometimes it never does set up, and so I just bypass it. That's okay, because there's always a few that are always setting something up for me to get in and either try to catch a big run, a nice little parabolic move, which happens from time to time, or more likely scalping where I'm in and out and just getting in and getting out and taking little pieces. Those little pieces add up quite a bit, as you've seen. So, and we'll talk about that, and we'll see that here in just a little bit. So anyway, that was my my gold trade. I did trade the mini NASDAQ. And what else? I also traded the mini Russell, and I also believe I traded the E-mini S&P. So, had quite a few trades, but they're all pretty much the same. And I'll show you those results here in just a minute. But let's take a look at the stocks. The big one for me today is going to be, let's see here. Well, let's look at these results. The biggest one today for me was in JDST. Of course, JDST is always going to be my favorite. I hit that kind of heavy today. This was a carryover, by the way, from yesterday. All right. So, as I mentioned last night, that was something I was watching as a carryover to go ahead and get out and take my profit. I am also, I'm still in NKLA. I think I mentioned that yesterday. So I'm still in NKLA. And I'm also added today MEDS. All right. MEDS. Keep track of these. So those are the two that I want to carry overnight and try to get out tomorrow on them. Okay. Let's see what else. And yeah, that was it. UVIX, which we got out of already. So okay, so as you can see, JDST was my biggest winner. Everything else, these are all just little scalps. RBT came in at the end of the day, was on our afternoon watch list. So I was in and out fairly quickly. It hit my target. UVIX, pretty much the same thing. Not a lot of money, but it hit my target. IDAI also. So all these others were just pretty much scalping, going for that very first level, right? You typically get multiple levels when we're looking at stocks. I also get them in the indices, and I also get them in gold and silver. But with gold and silver, I typically just go for the very first target. Where with the stocks, if it's hot and it's running, I'll see if I can get, try to hit more levels, all right? And we'll talk about that in the upcoming video where I go more into, we'll talk a little bit more about the HF1 pattern and profit targets on how Einstein arrives or comes up with those formulas, all right? So, that being said, let's look at one of these stocks here and see what it looks like on the screen. All right, so let's look at this JDST, since that was the my best trade today on the stocks. Now, one of the things about JDST, I've been trading JDST for a while, and one thing you notice if you've been a stock trader for a while, you'll see the same types of stocks coming up quite a bit when we're doing a scan, particularly when we're looking for very specific parameters. And the nice thing about that is that the more you trade those stocks, you begin to understand their personality a little bit better, because every stock kind of has its own kind of unique personality. And the one thing I really like about JDST is the fact that when it moves, it kind of just keeps going, moves very slow, but it just keeps creeping in the same direction. Very seldom does JDST just turn around and have a big sell-off. So I really like JDST. So this yellow line is where I came in from yesterday. We talked about that. If you were joining us this morning, before I went into Discord at 9:30, you know that I added to my JDST. So that's my add point. That's where I went ahead and I added, which was also, I believe, an HF1. And so I did have 4 different levels. Now, when it did hit level number 4, I did not get out. Why did I not get out? Because I understand JDST can keep going, okay? And if it doesn't keep going, it typically flattens out. So I wasn't too concerned about it just crashing and burning and me giving up all my profits. Now, had I seen it start coming, way down, maybe I would have gotten out, but that was never the case. So you'll see where I got out. So I pretty much held on to this trade all day long. It stayed up here at this higher level. And then I finally got out, and this wasn't until almost 4 o'clock or so. That's when I finally got out. It was about 3:30 or so is when I actually got out. So, because it just wasn't going anywhere. It was at the end of the day. Could I have carried it over? Probably. I think JDST is going to go higher, but that is an example of getting to know these stocks, particularly ones you find that you're trading over and over again, or it keeps popping up on whichever types of criteria that you're looking for. We all use scanners. Everybody uses scanners, but we all look at different things. And so in my case, I am looking for those stocks that have a tendency to have some nice moves, but I also like to see a lot of interest in it as well, as I mentioned. And but I also have to see my pattern setting up. Had I not had any buy pattern setting up, then I would not have been in JDST today. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. It also has to have one of my 4 patterns setting up, if not more. The more the better. And so yeah, so that's why I went ahead and I jumped back in the JDST, and I'm going to continue to keep that on my radar until I start getting selling opportunities, and then I'll just stay out because I'm not trying to be a seller. I don't even know. I doubt if shorts would even be available on something like JDST, but I'm not even looking at selling right now. I'm just looking at buying. So anyhow, so if we do get in a situation where it looks like it's coming down, then, you know, I'm not going to see it on my list anymore. I won't be looking at it until things heat up again and I get some more buying opportunities. All right, so that was JDST. And then once again, everything else was just kind of, you know, scalping. RBT, you know, $65. That was actually when I entered this particular trade, just like I did with IDAI. Once I entered my trade, then I just I looked at those first levels. I wasn't trying to go for more than one level, and I just put my limit order to get out. So I bought it and just put my limit order to get out because I knew exactly where I wanted to get out. And RBT hit it, ADAI hit it. Man, I can't remember if UVI. I think I may have got out of UVIX early on that one. Wasn't really liking UVIX. And then JDST, understanding JDST, I let it run. The others, I don't understand the personality, so it's not going to be something I want to hold because I don't understand how they move. Now, if I keep seeing UVIX popping up a lot on my radar, and I'm finding that I'm trading a lot more, then I'll begin to understand his personality, and I'll kind of figure out how to trade it, whether it's going to be something I'm going to want to just, you know, get in and get out real quick, or maybe I can hold on to it a little bit longer. It's one of those slow grinder stocks where it just keeps creeping up over and over and over again. So that's something that I'm looking for. But all stocks at some point are going to have their pullbacks, and when they do, that's the beauty of using patterns. The patterns will tell me not to trade, and I'll just stay out. All right, so that's what I like. The beauty of this process that I've been using for the last 35 years is not only do the patterns give me very specific entries, they're not where everybody else is looking to buy or sell, all right, because these patterns are unique. So I'm not trying to compete with anybody buying or selling, all right. And the other thing is the high probability targets that Einstein provides me. They're not Fibonacci numbers. They're nothing like that. They're not Gann lines or whatever. Right? Very unique formula, basically based on physics, and you can apply it to the market. And I did a video on that as well. And I believe at the end of this, you'll see there's a video I did back in, I think it was March. No, it was back in May, I think, where I talked about a little bit of the concept of Einstein and how it works. Be sure to check out that video. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for today. Like I said, love the, looking forward to this week. I mean, I just think we're going to continue to see a lot of volatility. What is it, FOMC meetings coming out on Friday. So even Friday's probably going to end up being a really good day as well. So anyhow, that's it. If you have any questions, you can find most of your questions answered on my YouTube channel, Innovative Trading Strategies, or my website, innovativetradingstrategies.com. Everybody have a good day, and hopefully we'll see you first thing tomorrow morning.